everything will be all right. I might get a pickled egg. And I might have some Miracle Whip. Hot Miracle Whip.
We working all the time. Learned a whole new vernacular from this.
On this show, that's it. Very easy. Welcome to the press box. Everything will be all right.
Day 2 of SEC Football Media Days, live from the College Football Hall of Fame, Atlanta, Georgia, where our friend Colin Lacy and Brent Osborne hanging out, talking to the guys all week long. We've got some more goodies we'll bring you later in the day. Mike Mote in his Douglasville, Georgia studios. Yours truly on the other side of the Atlanta Metro. Mike Grace, glad to have you with us on great stations around the Southeast, including our friends in Auburn, Alabama, who listen on WAUD AM 1230. Your head coach, Hugh Freeze, a part of the group today. Georgia and Auburn, along with Tennessee and Texas at the podium as day 2 of the SEC Football Media Days continue. Back with Mike and Colin and Brent. And guys, as we talk about it, I want to talk about Ole Miss a little bit. We've got Cayden Lee, a wide receiver, junior, who comes back for another year after, I think, being the number 2 receiver in that Ole Miss offense a year ago. You guys had a chance to hook up and talk with him yesterday. We'll get to that in a little bit, Colin. But I want to first talk about his head coach in Lane Kiffin. What we saw at the podium yesterday was not your typical Lane Kiffin. We've seen this a little bit the last couple of years with Lane, and it's interesting, especially in the past year, he has lost not only his dad, but his mom as well, one of those expected, one of those a little more sudden. And he talks about how that's impacted him and how the city of Oxford has helped him through this time.
I just have so much appreciation. I'm not saying this coming to head coach. I don't give you coach speak. The people of Oxford, and then when you lose your parents and you see how they are and how they help take care of them towards the end, or how much they really cared about them, it opened my eyes to a totally different way. It's basically, I went to Oxford, had this view. Then I got kids there, so then I had a different view as a parent there, and how awesome a community is to raise your kids in and to have them go to college and high school around these families and we take care of everybody. Then you see your parents at the end and lose your parents, one kind of expected, one unexpected, and to see how the community is around that. I owe so much to Oxford and the people there. It's just been awesome.
You know, early in his career, he was pretty much known, Lane Kiffin, as a carpetbagger. I mean, he was going to pack up and move wherever the big money was, wherever the big spotlight was, okay? Guys, I'm beginning to wonder, Mike Mote, could Lane Kiffin retire as the Ole Miss head coach in another, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years? How long can he be there?
I don't know. You'd have to give me his age, but it really seems like he's grown up as a man a little bit. Sort of like what Steve Sarkisian has done over the last maybe 10 years of his life. If you think about some of the stuff he had been through before he got another opportunity, first at Alabama as working with Nick Saban, and then the opportunity he got at Texas. I think Lane Kiffin's grown up some, and you know, dealing with some life experiences, and that will change you. I don't care if you're a head football coach or me.
Yeah,
It just changes you, and I think you kind of have a new perspective. So I think that's part of it. But I think the idea of him going to every time a coaching job was open, his name was mentioned for it. I mean, it was a little less last year, though, quite honestly. And I think, guys, and I don't know how you guys feel at media days. You were in the room with it, but it just seems to me, based on the comments I've heard and things that he has said, that maybe he's just a different person because of the things he's gone through, not necessarily in terms of football and success and disappointments over the last couple of years, because he's had a little bit of both, but just as a man, just as dealing with things that we all going to deal with from time to time, and how hard those things are. And it changes you, makes you either a better person or a bitter person. And I think it's worked to the positive for Lane Kiffin.
No, and I think part of it too of what he was talking about of you're going through so much and the community being around you for that. And so you're almost building a second family for it. And Brent, I know you and I both having 2 kids. We got to give a shout out to Carson, by the way.
Yep, always.
But being able to have your kids in a place, you become a parent in a place. The community rallies around you in that. Then you lose both of your parents in the last couple of years for him. It's part of that community, and I know Oxford is a big part of the kind of old Southern town feel. Of everybody kind of rallying around you, whether you're the head coach or not. But I imagine it also helps when you're the head coach and you've been winning football games. But I think the on the field meshes with the off the field, and I think it's turned into a perfect storm for Lane Kiffin, and I think it was probably good for and I'm not trying to go psychological and all of this stuff, but I think it was probably good for Lane Kiffin to get into a situation like that and then realize and feel it, because there's a lot of times where you get into, because there's a lot of towns like that and a lot of communities like that, especially around the SEC, but there's also a lot of coaches that experience things like that and don't necessarily, I don't want to say take advantage of it, because that kind of has a bad connotation to it, but
Mm.
you don't embrace the community that's embracing you, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I was about to say, I mean, one thing that how I've kind of always looked at Lane is, um, you know, he's a player's coach, and you're going to hear us talk to Cayden Lee in a little bit about that and what kind of coach he is. And I still think that, he's got a little bit of Lane Kiffin in him that we kind of all know, and we see a little bit here and there. But the other thing I've kind of noticed is, whenever he was on Twitter and trolling all the time, and it was like, okay, how much football time is he actually spending versus just being on Twitter or doing that kind of stuff? And I think that when he was a coordinator, an offensive coordinator, wherever it was, that you can kind of get away with doing some of that stuff. Whereas the head coach, you're kind of in a different light a little bit. And one thing that I've kind of noticed over these last couple of years is, yes, he's still a guy, and he's still good buddies with a Kirby and Hugh Freeze and Dabo and the rest of those guys, that they're all good friends and they like to joke around and stuff. But I think he also started to realize too is that as a head coach of a big program like Ole Miss, that you also, there's times that you can be funny, but there's also times that you need to be very, very serious if you want to be a successful program. And I think that he has kind of seen that from his friends like a Kirby, that that kind of shows him the way a little bit. And I know that him and Kirby are totally different coaches when it comes to how they approach the program, but I do think that that kind of has helped him, like we said, grow up a little bit in a sense. And I think that's kind of helped evolve Ole Miss and having the success that they're having as well. Is not that he doesn't like to have fun and that he's not a player's coach, because he definitely is, but I think that he also has done a really good job of kind of being able to grasp and get those players to really believe in him.
For what it's worth, he turned 50 back in May. So that is a life.
Thanks. I'm older
chapter.
than Lane
Absolutely.
Kiffin. That's
Yes,
not
yes,
right.
absolutely. And,
Gosh.
and again, I think the real impact, and you talked about this yesterday, when you lose both of your parents and you stop and think for a moment, okay,
Mm.
that leaves me. That leaves me and my siblings as the patriarchs and matriarchs of this family now, and it's
Yeah.
something that I'm my brothers, and I've got two older brothers, but we've suffered the same thing in recent years, and it really is it's just a change. So it's a different Lane Kiffin. We know this though; he's still just as good as an offensive minded coach. He's been fantastic. Look, he'll have to break in a new quarterback in Austin Simmons this year. We only got glimpses of him last year. What we saw was great. But one of the best things he's got going for him this year is one of his key targets, Cayden Lee, 5'11", 175-pound junior, a wide receiver who is a local product. He prepped at Kennesaw Mountain High School, just a ways up I-75 from Atlanta. And again, our Colin Lacy and Brent Osborne had a chance to catch up with Ole Miss wide receiver Cayden Lee yesterday at SEC Football Media Days from the College Football Hall of Fame.
SEC Media Day catching up with part of the Ole Miss Rebels and junior wide receiver Cayden Lee. Appreciate you joining us, bud.
Appreciate you guys for having me. You guys for having me.
What's this like? What is getting to experience an SEC Media Day? And oh, by the way, far from home.
I know I'm about 35 minutes from my house, so I might just pop home after this. But no, it's been amazing so far. I've seen it all the way growing up since I was in high school, so it's a privilege to be able to be here.
You look at what Ole Miss was last season, a really spectacular year. What is the biggest takeaway that you have from last year, being a sophomore, but being heavily involved in that offense?
Last year I was kind of just figuring out the player that I was on the field, and now I feel like I have a really good understanding of what I can do, the things that I can improve on, and I'm just gonna take the mental notes into next season.
So kind of touching on that a little bit, what was something that after getting a lot of playing time and playing and making some big catches and playing a big role in your games last year, what were some things that you kind of felt like you needed to improve on going into the spring and this off season?
Yeah, this past year I feel like I was a little bit smaller, so I picked up some weight. I've gained about 15 pounds now, so I feel like that's really a big improvement for myself. And I just feel like focusing on yards after the catch is a big thing for me. So I'm looking forward to that this upcoming year.
The biggest thing that everybody's talking about around this Ole Miss team is Jackson Dart finishing up at Ole Miss. Now you're moving to Austin Simmons.
Mm.
What's the biggest part of what Austin Simmons brings that nobody knows about?
Well, I feel like it's something that everybody should know about, which is his smartness. I don't know if you guys know this, but he's 19 years old and he just graduated college.
Jeez.
So
That's impressive.
that man, he's smart.
Yeah, that's very, very impressive.
Mhm.
So, what is something that you were really looking forward to, I guess, this season, and kind of seeing what you guys can do as a team?
Mhm.
Try to get over the hurdles of some of the things that maybe held you guys back just a little bit. So, what's something that you guys are kind of looking forward to and seeing how you guys respond this next season?
For us, we brought in a lot of new guys, so really just building that bond with each other and creating new relationships. And I feel like just being able to, I make a play, you make a play, pick the other side of the ball up is really real big for us this upcoming year.
Talk about the mentality of this team, and everybody says the cliche of everybody follows what their head coach does. Lane Kiffin has obviously been a big part of what Ole Miss has been the last couple of years. What is it that this team really gleans from Lane Kiffin and what he's able to bring to this team?
You know, he's big on just going 1-0 every day. I mean, everybody wants to be like, oh yeah, let's make an SEC championship, let's win a national championship, but you can't do that unless you go 1-0. You're getting better every day. If you lose game one, that doesn't set you up, so you got to go 1-0 every game and every day.
All right, so I have to ask.
Mhm.
So obviously we see all the kind of the back and forth on Twitter, and Coach Kiffin likes to troll people as
Yeah.
well and kind of give it back to him. So
Mhm.
what's it like kind of having him as a head coach? Does he kind of play around with you guys, but he's also got the respect of the team as well to kind of lead by example as well.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Kiffin, he's a player's coach. I
Yeah.
mean, if you want to have fun a lot of the time, but get work done at the same time, that's the school you need to go to. I mean, before practice, some days we'll have coaches doing one-on-ones and 7-on-7. The players are out there laughing, throwing water bottles on them, and coaches are trying to do drills. So it's amazing.
We've talked about the elevation of Ole Miss the last couple of years under Lane Kiffin and what that program has become. What is that next step for you
Mhm.
guys? What is next for Ole Miss and what the kind of trajectory is?
The trajectory of Ole Miss is just I feel like it's trending upward. It has been for a couple years now. And we plan to just keep that going.
Is there something that you may feel in particular as a team that you guys need to maybe improve on or improve on from last year to kind of take that next step? And I know there were multiple conversations about you guys in the college football playoffs for next year
Mhm.
or for this past year. Is there something or a hurdle maybe you guys got to get past that you feel like would kind of put you guys in a better spot in the driver's seat is controlling that destiny?
I feel like we're just gonna try to control our own destiny, like you said, and with a bunch of new guys that we brought in, our biggest thing that we're trying to focus on right now is just creating team chemistry, bonding, getting to know one another, getting to get on the same page mentally with one another, just to be able to dominate on the field.
Talk about that with receiver room, and we talked about you being a big part of it last year. You lose a couple of guys out of that room that made key parts of that receiver room a year ago. Who were the guys that looked to take those steps?
We have a very talented receiver room now. We've brought in Deshaun Stribling, Trey Wallace from Penn State, Deuce Alexander, Caleb Odom, more guys. Trey, T. Ray, that's my guy. So I feel like as a receiver room, we haven't left off. I feel like we're gonna be the exact same room, even better maybe.
And talking about Caleb Odom, obviously young player coming in, big player
Yeah.
in stature as well. What kind of impact do you think he's going to be able to make kind
Mhm.
of right off the bat is with being such a big player in that kind of tight end wide receiver role?
Yeah, I mean he's versatile. You can put him at tight end. You can put him outside as an outside receiver. I mean, he's got some receiver reps at the slot as well. So I feel like he can do it all, which is it makes it hard for a defense to game plan. So I feel like that's big.
All right, I know we're starting off SEC Media Days. We've got the next 4 days going through all 16 teams, but you're setting the bar high as far as the drip, you
Hey,
got the bracelet, the
Shoe
shoes.
I
game.
appreciate that.
Where
Yeah.
did all of this get put together? Is this a you creation?
This is definitely a me creation. I am very big into the fashion. So that's me.
You
I
got
like
the
it.
pink bow tie.
I
That bow
know.
tie is on
Feathers.
point.
All right. That's what
Oh,
Colin even said
yes.
before you even came over our table. He goes, I think Cayden, he was like, I saw him walk by and I think Cayden may have already won the shoe game, and it's the very first day.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So you got the silver sparkling shoes.
hmm
Where do these come from?
So these right here, the Cactus Plant Flea Market Platinum. Very hard to find.
That's amazing.
Very hard to find.
Going into
What about Coach Kiffin, real quick? I got to ask.
Mhm.
Has he got some good drip on today?
Let me think. I feel like he's a step below me.
Okay, step
but
below,
he's
of
up there.
course,
But
yeah.
he's definitely up there.
All right, who's the guy, even around the league or in the team, who, if they go all out, has the best dress?
Myself.
Okay, all right.
Myself.
I figured.
Yeah, fair enough.
Going into 2025, what are, and I'm not going to go with the traditional that you've gotten asked 1,000 times today of what's the goals for this team, but what's the biggest thing that you personally want to accomplish and want to see in 2025?
You know, I just really want to see us just play as a team for a 4-quarter game. I don't just want to just see us just dominate in the first quarter and then slack off in the third quarter. I want to see us play complete football games from the first quarter to the fourth quarter, and I feel like if we do that, it'll be hard to beat us.
Was there a certain game last year, obviously with your role kind of being getting bigger? Was there a certain game last year from last year's season that was your favorite or your most memorable so far?
It definitely has to be the Georgia game, just because the storming of the field, tearing the goalpost down, and carrying it to the square. It was just that game was awesome.
Talking about that atmosphere at Vaught-Hemingway Stadium, and I think it's one that gets overlooked a lot around the SEC, but being there a couple of times over the last few years with Westwood One, it's been fun to see that environment. Talk about what it's like being on the field, being a part of a field storm, being a part of all that goes around Ole Miss football.
Yeah, we have a terrific fan base. Our fans are amazing. They do a great job. They pack the vault every game. So they're always going to bring the energy. And as a player being on the field, seeing that stadium packed, that's awesome.
Cayden, appreciate you joining us. Good luck this season. Wish all the best to you and the Ole Miss Rebels, and appreciate you joining us.
Thank you guys so much. Have a good day.
Once again, Cayden Lee, the Ole Miss Rebels junior wide receiver.
Is there anything more Ole Miss than a pink bow tie and bedazzled shoes?
Pink feather bow tie. They were
Now, and this comes
feathers in the middle of it.
Mind you, this comes from a Mississippi State fan, but whose older brother is an Ole Miss grad and started taking me to Ole Miss football games. I was an Ole Miss fan. I was an Ole Miss fan before I was a State fan, only because my brother took me to games. I saw Archie Manning play for Ole Miss back in '69 and '70, thanks to my big brother.
Can we revisit that tomorrow whenever Bart Heitch is on?
No, please don't. No, don't tell Bart.
I think that'd be fantastic.
Don't tell Bart, please.
Yeah.
He already accuses me of having 17 teams. And look, I've got 2 teams, okay? I've got Mississippi State. They are my team. And then Auburn's second because I've got an Auburn dad, Auburn brother, Auburn daughter, etc. So I've got connections to Auburn.
You got invested interest in that.
State's my team. I was an Ole Miss fan, but I'm not anymore. I changed. And
I thought you joined South Carolina yesterday after the DQ Smith.
Well, I did. Yeah, maybe so. Maybe I could add South Carolina to that list now as well. I'm just a fan of the SEC, boys and girls. How about that? Our thanks again to Cayden Lee, the wide receiver for Ole Miss, last year's number 2 receiver. He was number 2 with 57 receptions for 874 yards, couple of touchdowns, and set to be a key target for Rebels' first-year starting quarterback, Austin Simmons, coming up in 2025. All right, we're just getting rolling with hour number 2 of the Press Box. So with our guys, Colin Lacy and Brent Osborne on site. Digital Drive, second floor of the College Football Hall of Fame, site of SEC Football Media Days. It's day 2, just getting things underway with Georgia's Kirby Smart at the podium. We'll check on that and much more as we come to you on great radio stations around the Southeast, online 24/7 at PressBoxRadio.com, and streaming live video at YouTube.com/PressBoxRadio. Yes, just watch with one eye, probably. 2 eyes might burn your retinas there. Either way, we'll take a quick time out and come back. And, there was an all-star home run derby last night. We might touch on that when we come back inside the Press Box.